Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 2. Rumors are more and more clones have been questioning the Order. Then they are traitors, like the Jedi. Hey there, my name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. Special thanks, as always, to our friends at Lucasfilm and Disney Plus Canada for giving us the opportunity to watch this season early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things Geekcentric. Now, joining me for Clone Force 99's latest adventure, we have my own lovely bunch of batches, Justin, Darcy, and Megan. How's it going, you bad batches?
Hey, Batch.
I don't know what that... I don't think the people listening can see that hand movement there, but I like it.
Well, we're all
like
just flailing. What's up, Batches? How are you?
I'm shaking my head.
What's up, Batches?
Oh, man, we are in a fun 2023 mood. That's right. This is our first review of 2023. I'm stoked.
Whoa.
I'm stoked that it's Star Wars related.
Yes.
That's how I think anyone should start their year, is with a little bit of
2023,
Star
man.
Wars.
It's a sign. It's a sign. I'm telling you.
Oh.
Good things.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Hope.
We
You
love
look
it.
just like the animated version of Leia there. Now, before we dive into the discussion and this review, I want to take a moment and actually just ask all of you, and I think it's kind of clear already, but what do you love about Star Wars animation, and what impact do you think it's had on Star Wars in general?
I'm starting right away. I lifted my hand up immediately. I'm obsessed with Star Wars animation. If you don't already know that, and you will come to know that in our watch club of this show.
Yeah.
I am so thankful that Dave Filoni has grabbed Star Wars by the proverbial balls and put forth his ideas and his concepts, because in my personal opinion, he has saved what Star Wars was going towards with the animation.
Yeah.
If you're someone who doesn't normally watch cartoons, quote unquote, or animated content, I strongly suggest that if you love the Star Wars story and the universe in general, to watch these shows, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Bad Batch, and also Tales of the Jedi. So good.
Totally. And maybe Resistance a little bit. Like, maybe. I don't know, it's pretty good.
There's some
Why
fun
not?
parts in Resistance for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But just like, if you really want to get the full, like, well-rounded universe, these are completely necessary to take in to, number one, redeem the prequels, but number two, get the full sense of where Star Wars is going.
Yeah, I think without these stories through the animation, and if we think of just the live action, all we would have is the Skywalker saga, right? And I think animation has built out the galaxy beyond the Skywalkers and has shown their influence, and the influence of Jedi, and the influence of the dark side, and the influence of the Empire and Rebels, and, you know, given a more rounded experience, as you're describing, Meg, to the galaxy. And it does really come down to Filoni's ability to, as you said, save Star Wars by being able to call out these pockets of time where story is an opportunity. I think that above all the big IPs that are trying to build universes, it's really great that Star Wars sits in a place where, from comics to animated to live action, it's all connected. It's all part of the same thing. And I think even outside of those mediums, through, I'm sure, as Darcy, I know you're a big novel guy, I think that those also play a part. Like the High Republic is obviously one of the more recent ones, but I know that there are stories that still influence the canon. So again, just across the board, it's all tied together. And I couldn't agree with you more, Meg. If you want the most full round experience of Star Wars, a lot of that is experienced in animation. It is the expansion of the galaxy beyond anything else. And yeah, Resistance is okay, but it really is Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi. It's these stories that are filling out so much of a galaxy that we love.
Yeah, thanks for leaving so much for me to say, guys. I mean, took everything good about it. I mean, again, you mentioned how I like the extended universe and all that stuff. So what Filoni does great with these animated shows is flesh out and fill in those pockets of time that we don't know much about if you're just watching the live action series. And even The Mandalorian is very self-contained in its own little universe. So these animated shows are so wide spanning that you really get a scope of the scale that the galaxy really covers. And every time you watch one of these episodes, it feels like you're almost taken to somewhere new in the galaxy and learning about the people's problems there and stuff. So again, it was just how much it builds a galaxy is probably the best part of Star Wars animation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone, I think has seen these stories kind of grow and Star Wars animation grow. And I think it did at one point. It was a thing that could be living on its own. It could be separated from the stories at large. I think back to the Genndy Tartakovsky incredibly animated Clone Wars series that I just absolutely adored. And I was like, I really wish that these had any impact on the overall narrative. And luckily, Dave Filoni and his team, in a different way, and in a way that, I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people, even animation fans, fully understood or grasped the sort of how big this would get when the show started. And I think the animation was, left a little bit to be desired at that time. And it's definitely grown. And I think, everyone has their own Star Wars. I know, for some people it's the original trilogy. For some people, for younger audiences, it's the sequel. For me, it's the prequels. But I love the idea that there's also people out there that this, the animated side of Star Wars is their Star Wars, and that's what they grew up with. And I think that's so cool. And I think I've said it, shout out to Luke and Jake on the movie pod. They did a podcast called the Luke and Jake Movie Podcast. And I absolutely had a great time on their podcast for the couple times that I guested. But we did a review of Rogue One, and ever since Rogue One, I've always just sort of said to myself, like, more Star Wars is better Star Wars. The more that you can sort of take on from what's given to you, and not all of it's going to be great. There's going to be some stuff that you absolutely just don't care for, but at the very least, it's additive. It adds to the overall story of Star Wars, even if there are moments where you're like, I don't know how much that did for this story or these characters that I'm looking at the moment. But overall, these stories just add so much more. And if you're willing to take that on, even though it can be a lot, Star Wars is better for it. And I love that about Star Wars animation. But listen, let's get into this review before Wrecker makes something explode or something. Let me get to the synopsis for this season. When the new season of Star Wars The Bad Batch opens, months have passed since the events on Kamino, and the Bad Batch continue their journey navigating the Empire after the fall of the Republic. They will cross paths with friends and foes, both new and familiar, as they take on a variety of thrilling mercenary missions that will take them to unexpected and dangerous new places. The series stars Emmy Award nominee Dee Bradley Baker as the voice of the Bad Batch, and Emmy Award nominee Michelle Ang as the voice of Omega. Emmy Award winner Rhea Perlman returns to guest star as Sid. Nasher Dalal returns to guest star as Vice Admiral Rampart, and Emmy Award winning Wanda Sykes makes her guest starring debut in the series as Fee Genoa. This series is executive produced by Dave Filoni, with Brad Rao as supervising director and Jennifer Corbett as head writer. Season 2 will debut on Disney Plus with its 2-episode premiere on January 4th, 2023, which, if you're listening to this review on the day it's released, is right now. So after this review, go watch those 2 episodes and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. That's a Watch Club reference for our Geekcentric mega fans that are out there. Let's get into it here. We had the wonderful opportunity to watch not all of this season, but a really good amount of it. And so with that said, this is going to be spoiler-free. Just our high-level thoughts on this second season of the show. Normally, we start these reviews with what worked, and then we go into what didn't. But because I feel like this one's going to be I don't know about you for 3, but it feels like it's going to be a little more heavy on the positive than the negative. So if you do have some stuff that didn't quite work for you, drop it in as along as we go. But I wanted to start by talking about the visuals. We've already mentioned how the visuals have changed in not only this series, but in Star Wars animation in general. So let's start with I think it's when we were watching these episodes, it kept coming up in our discussions. The visuals, I think. They've not only kept up with the visuals from Season 7 of The Clone Wars and Season 1 of The Bad Batch, but I think they've gone even further with, honestly, some moments of incredible cinematography and lighting and the way that they use those for visual storytelling. It's such a Lucasfilm thing to do that. And so to see it represented in Star Wars animation was so awesome this season as a huge Star Wars fan. I think the way the show is shot, or digitally shot, I guess you would say, it just reminds me of how good this team knows how to tell Star Wars stories. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I would even go as far as say how these shots are composed, just in terms of staging and how things are blocked within the frame. And I entirely agree. I think that this is some top tier animation from Lucasfilm that shows more of a collaboration with the existing live action canon of Star Wars. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like this one felt so much more reminiscent of live action in terms of its angles, its use of lighting and the shadows. You still get this beautiful painterly aesthetic to the characters that is clearly animation, but they're not afraid to not have everything lit really, really well. And I appreciate that, because I think that that's always been the detriment to some of the earlier animation, is that because it is TV, it is, as we've discussed, can be for kids and stuff like that. It has to be bright. It has to have a lot of light, and things just look a little bit more video game-esque. Here, it just, you really get to live in the shadows a little bit more and see the way that darkness works with that light. I thought it was stunning, some of these shots that we get.
Absolutely. And, as our resident animation obsessed person, I could not get enough of every single episode. The lighting was the one subject that I think all of us continuously talked about throughout the entire season. And for me, it's like, Justin, like you said, that cross between it relating to the live action shows, but still being its own animated thing, that painterly aesthetic and texture that they give the landscapes and the characters and their costumes and everything is one of my favorite things about this style of animation, and what we got in Season 7 of The Clone Wars, as well as these 2 seasons of The Bad Batch. It's so different than anything I've seen in, comparison to like some of the newer animation styles. It sits on its own tier. Like Into the Spider-Verse sits on its own tier, and Mitchell's vs. the Machine sits on its own tier. I believe this new Star Wars animation has its own tier as well. So I loved seeing
it's an evolution.
Totally. And I gotta say, I think each episode had about like 10 different computer screen backgrounds that I would have gladly saved to my computer. It was just so picturesque.
I think one of the coolest things too about this series is that they're able to use like some of these wide landscape shots that in those earlier seasons they kind of stayed away from because they couldn't get the detail into this space. Like this season, when you're going, like being introduced to a new planet or a new locale or whatever, you can really feel all the details. If you were to stop the frame, like Meg was saying, you could pick out so many new little things hiding off in the background, and it just goes to show how far it's come since those early seasons where they didn't have the budget or the means to flesh out these worlds as much as they wanted to. So, I mean, there are some points where, especially with the Clone Troopers, obviously, where I was thinking, is this live action or not? Because when we see live action Clone Troopers, they were very digital. So it was kind of funny that I was getting that flashback in a great way.
Absolutely. And I think, Megan, you called it out, like even just seeing little dings on helmets and little nicks in the armor, again, just help to tell the story without having to even show a story necessarily. And I think the other thing, when we talk about the animation, goes along with the performances. I think the way they did the facial animations this season, again, that word you used earlier, Justin, like it feels elevated. It feels like they've really done a great job of sort of getting to that next level of facial animation, and they keep doing it. They keep getting better. But I think from a performance standpoint, D. Bradley Baker, obviously, we got to talk about him. Excellent as always. He's so good that there were just so many times that I forgot he was voicing so many different characters.
Yeah,
like you don't even
yeah.
think about it most of the time. And like there's moments where like the only time I actually thought about it, I think was in the times that we got with Crosshair, right? Where Dee just gives some incredible performances as Crosshair, but like for the most part, there were just like times where I'm just like, these are just separate characters. They're all different people, and at no point in time was I really like focused in on like the fact that it's just Dee Bradley Baker in the voice booth. It's just nuts. It's just crazy.
I think that's like kudos to him because he did it all throughout 7 seasons of the Clone Wars as well. And I don't think I ever thought, even though he gives the same kind of voice to regular clone troopers, they're each still individuals throughout that series. So given the personality differences between the Bad Batch characters, he has such a crazy range. And the fact that you stated earlier, Nate, that he's only been nominated gets me a little angry.
Come on. Let's change that, especially after this season.
But I'd also love to point out Michelle Ang's performance as Omega throughout this season. She matured along with Omega in this season. You know, she's a little bit older. She's a little bit wiser to battle. She truly is a member of the Bad Batch. And I loved seeing her grow in this season.
Absolutely. It feels like a shift. Like she's in the first season, she learned so much from the Bad Batch or the Dad Batch, as they're called. But then this season, we get to see them learning so much from her and just how immediately she jumps into these situations and like, you know, just we're family. We can do this together. We can get through this. I absolutely love it. And I love that that's such a good message for families of any kind, found family or the one you're born into, that, you know, you can all learn from each other. I think is just lovely.
Omega has a personality change. Like it's very much the same voice, but she's more of like a teenager, definitely grown up a little bit more matured as we've said. So it's really nice to see that from her performance and the animation, just how were able to capture all of that and really say, you know, this is a different Omega. But yeah, Dee Bradley gave some outstanding performances in these episodes, and Nate, you called it Crosshair. Whew. Unbelievable. And to think that every character that he's played throughout these episodes that we watched, and the importance of just clones, I think it's so poignant for every performance that we get of a clone with him and his voice. They're all different, but they're the same. At times it feels like, as you guys were saying, it's like you're just hearing an imitation of Dee Bradley Baker's voice throughout. It's like, it's really crazy how even just in the Bad Batch, from Hunter to Tech, to Echo to Wrecker, and then Crosshair, just the tonal difference, yet they all sound tied together. It's just, it's phenomenal. It's some great voice acting. And yeah, he deserves to win an Emmy for this, because the fact that he's been able to give these characters such differentiation and their personalities with their voice, it's flawless, man. It's so good.
It's also the emotion that he puts behind their performances in this season too, right? Like Crosshair has some pretty deep moments in this show, as well as Tech, as well as Echo. And it's really unbelievable to see that. And to go back to the visuals quickly, they've also been able to up their animation and make those emotional, detailed performances read really, really well on screen, which I know was one of the more difficult points in the early Clone Wars season. So, there's a scene where someone's intense and there's some handshaking and it's really amazing. And I just,
I mean, you guys have said a lot about, you know, the Bad Batch themselves, but I gotta shout out a lot of the new actors or voices they've brought to the series. And I don't want to name any names because this is spoiler free, but some of the characters you get for 1 or 2 episodes, the depth that they add to the show and how much emotion they bring to this character, despite, you know, only seeing them for a short period of time, you immediately fall in love with them. That goes to show how everyone they're bringing onto the show cares about Star Wars to the extent that they want to make a character memorable, and they all do that so well.
And because their characters are memorable, Darcy, those episodes are more memorable.
Oh yeah,
right.
for sure.
And I think that's a huge fix that, if when we quickly touch upon story at some point in this in this review, we're going to go all over the place a little bit, but I did just want to just really quickly kind of because we're talking about the Bad Batch for a second, we're talking a little bit about their characters, the characters of the Bad Batch that Dee Bradley plays. I will say we get a little more focus. I think, the first season we had a lot of focus on Hunter and Wrecker. And I think in this season, they definitely feel like they've taken a bit of a back seat. I think we definitely get more of a focus on, of course, Omega, but also Tech, Echo, and Crosshair. And I think this is something that, I definitely appreciated. I really loved that. But I felt like there was a bit of an odd imbalance in terms of the growth for the Bad Batch entirely. And it's funny because I was listening to our finale watch club for season 1, and that was one of the things that we sort of called out, was that, give us more side mission episodes where we get to experience these characters have growth. And we mentioned Tech, we mentioned Echo, and it's that's exactly kind of what they gave me. And yet still, for some reason, I feel like right, but I'm the thing is, I feel like they possibly could have still given a little bit more for Hunter and Wrecker this season. This is the only thing, if I was to nitpick at the growth for these characters.
But I think, as you're saying, that's what the point of season 1 was to
right.
give them that poignancy. And now here in season 2, it's focusing more on the other batches.
I feel like there could have maybe just been a little bit more balance done in terms of just how much they get. I don't know. I just feel like if you're a Hunter or a Wrecker fan, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, but not by much. So I'm just trying to give a little bit of things that I felt as I was going through.
That's totally fair. I will say, if you weren't a Tech fan, you will be now. Old Brown Eyes has a soft spot in my heart now.
Don't they all have brown eyes? They're all brown eyes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the irony. Of it all. No, I totally agree. I think that's what I absolutely loved about, these episodes, is that they do shift the focus. We got the broken hero story of Hunter, Wrecker as the animal that needs to find his way and be softened. You have these simple stories that were explored with these characters in the first season. Here it's about rounding out the experience, and they definitely delivered. And I think they delivered on good stories and a really great sense of pacing with the story. And I know we'll get there when we get there, but I really do think that it is season 1 and this is season 2. I think the two work cohesively together as telling the story of the Bad Batch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about something we can all agree on then, which is the music. Kevin Kiner is awesome, dude. The score for this series, the way that he pulls little audio Easter eggs for diehard Star Wars fans, little score Easter eggs. Diehard fans are going to love and recognize it, but they're not just there to be Easter eggs or callbacks. They actually add depth to those moments with what they originally represented now being sort of brought back up, and I absolutely love it. John Williams will forever be the Star Wars composer, but we've just had such a good amount of composers thrown into the mix with Giacchino, Ludwig Göransson for Mando and Boba Fett, Natalie Holt for Obi-Wan, Nicholas Britell for Andor, and now, Kevin Kiner coming back for more Star Wars animation. He is so freaking good. The music is adventurous. It's scary. It changes tones from being a pirate adventure at times, and then you get a Wild West homage, and then I can't count the amount of times that the music hit me. And there's one moment in particular that, with both the way that it's shot, the visuals, and the moment with the music, it hit me in the chest. I felt it, and it's not something that I'll forget for a long time. And I was just so taken aback by the fact that I'm getting this from the Bad Batch. This is awesome. This is so cool.
It can be, as you said, adventurous and scary, but then it can pay homage to all of the different subgenres that inspire Star Wars, while also breathing in something new. I don't know, some of the Crosshair episodes features a very unique score that at times feels overly ambiguous and sort of sinister, a little more muted in comparison to the other music we get throughout the episodes. And, having gotten Andor this year with some of the most inventive music within Star Wars that feels so Why wasn't it in there before? Very Blade Runner-esque. Like
Mm-hmm.
we see some of that even just kind of sprinkled in throughout these episodes. And I don't know, it seems to give you the most brevity to what Star Wars is through the music. I think it's just so well explored.
Absolutely, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know. This is the first time I think in a long time that for a Star Wars anime. No, wait. I think I said it about Tales of the Jedi that I'm like, I want the music as well. Listen, just give me all of Kevin Conner's music.
Every single thing.
Every single thing.
I was listening to it today. I was listening to the Tales of the Jedi today. It's an awesome
It's
score.
so good. It's so good. But listen, let's talk about pacing and the story. I think as we reviewed the first season, we did the weekly watch club for season 1, and we kept having these recurring thoughts. There were 2 sort of main recurring thoughts that kept coming up, which was, is this show for adults or is this show for a younger audience? And is this show going to do the story of the week side mission episode, or will we get a compelling, I think we called it a snowball, a recurring arc?
The snowball.
The snowball.
Yeah,
Are we going to get
remember
that snowball?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Batches, do you
I
think
regret it
they've
immediately.
do you think they've addressed that this season?
100%.
Yeah, I think so. I think, to me, this is the best part of these episodes, is the story and the pacing of that story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of small adventures to big adventures to emotional episodes that are focused on characters and their relationships with one another, to just, being very centered around one character's development. And then there's episodes that are sprinkled through that feed into a larger story that go beyond the Bad Batch. I think it's all just well balanced. In last season, it seemed to introduce it and then forget about it, and then came back to it and then forget about it, and then came back to it. Here, what's so refreshing is that we don't really get any huge narrative implications until much later in the episodes, much later. And I think the series is stronger for that. I think it's by not necessarily introducing it off the bat, but really going in and saying, we're going to give you an adventure. We're going to give you a character focused episode. We're going to give you this. And then suddenly, boom, here's something that plays into something that could be bigger. It was like, oh, okay, here we go. Right. I thought I really enjoyed where that episode fell in the numbers that we got.
Compared to the first one, I remember after that first season, we were all saying that there were a lot of fillers that took us right out of the story. And like you were saying, Justin, the pacing in this one is so much more consistent in that there aren't those there's very few moments where I'm like, oh, that episode was unnecessary, because of how they told these stories, whether it was those character pieces or those just fun adventurers. They still had enough substance to them that they meant something in the larger picture of the second season. And I thought that was incredible, a marked improvement compared to the first season.
Absolutely. And I think one of the main points that we all talked about last season that got on my nerves, but also I completely understood why, that this felt like it was directed towards kids. And there were moments of subject matter throughout the first season that definitely felt a little bit more mature, but generically, as an entire season, it definitely was aimed towards younger audiences, or at least it felt that way. This season takes a turn, does not feel like it's meant for children. There are moments for sure that, they keep it a little lighter and it'll be, I guess, a little bit more digestible for children, but it takes itself so much more seriously this season. There are many more mature storylines and intense moments and dark moments that stick to sort of like you said earlier, just in the live action shows. Like it's really connecting itself to stand at the same level as those storylines. So I really, really appreciate that. And I love that. And when the lighter episodes come, I'm like, oh, but I want it to be sad and scary again.
Well, and I think it's funny too, because it feels like it's, for the most part, this season, where the first season was like, it felt aimed at kids that adults could also enjoy. This feels like it's aimed at adults, but kids can also enjoy some of it, for the most part. I think, it was really refreshing, though, as an adult who loves this series, where I think the first season, there were quite a few moments where we're kind of like, they could have pushed it a little bit more. They could have gone a little bit darker there. Why didn't they kill off that character? Like, it looked like they should have died, but they didn't. This is only spoiler free for this season. That was first season, so don't worry about that. But I'm just saying, like, they do go dark in this season. They go to those moments, and the result is some really compelling story moments that recontextualize or help to recontextualize how the galaxy looks at clones and clone rights. And I think it's just so cool and it's so awesome. I think as for the story of the week side mission episodes, yeah, absolutely. We still get side mission episodes this season, but for the most part, except for maybe like one or two moments, I feel like they're all really worth watching. They all add something. They all add a little bit of oomph. They all feel like they actually matter. And like, I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, there are maybe a few that I just felt like really,
it's not perfect.
Really stand above the rest.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think I want more Crosshair episodes, I think is what I'm trying to say. Like, just give us more Crosshair.
Maybe,
I don't know.
I think, again, the way
worked.
that way that it works, the way they're sprinkled throughout, and how they feel so tonally different from everything else. It's purposeful. You wouldn't want to put those three back to back. You wouldn't want to put those three within a close radius of one another. You want some room to breathe between some of those episodes because they are a little bit more intimate and personal. And I think this is top tier storytelling with Star Wars, almost on the same scale as an Andor, right? Like, it's just, I think it fully kind of mastered the formula of being able to give you, adventure of the week with meaningful storytelling. It's well balanced.
And I think those adventure of the week episodes may be just adventure of the week, but at least it gives us character development in most of them.
Yes.
Like they may not play much into the grander story that they're telling, but it gives us insight into a character and why they are the way they are, and that is just as meaningful as pushing the galaxy's story ahead.
And I will say, for the, again, sort of little time that they give us with Crosshair, those moments definitely really pack a lot in. And I think there's some really good highlights to look forward to. Let's get to our final thoughts on this season and our rating, which we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 gonkies. We did the first season on 1 to 5 omegas, so I thought, let's do 1 to 5 gonkies, which I was listening back to our finale, and I kept saying Gronky, and Darcy kept getting, he's like, it's not Gronky, it's Gonky. And I'm like, I just kept calling him Gronky for some reason. His name is Gonky, you're right. So on a scale of 1 to 5 gonkies, Megan, why don't you go first?
Absolutely. If you can't tell, I love this season. I love pretty much the entire thing. The animation, the lighting, the detail in not only the stories, but also the design of the show. I don't even know where to start. Like, it's all just so good. And for those who are big Clone Wars fans, get ready. There's some good stuff coming at you, and I gave many of these episodes 5 out of 5 strictly because there was a reference here or there. So as much as there are a few episodes that maybe play to a younger audience or lighten the story a little bit, I still appreciate what they're there for, and I just fell so hard for every single Bad Batch member. Even if they weren't highlighted in this season, there were still moments where the story and character development that happened in season 1 for those two major ones that Nate's upset about, those carried through to this season and kept up with everything else. So for one single performance that didn't do it for me, the rest of the episodes and season was phenomenal. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5 gonkies.
There we go. Darcy, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I loved this season too. Like I said, it was a marked improvement from the first one in that every episode, with the exception of two that I can think of off the top of my head, of the ones that we got at least, felt unnecessary. And the ones that we did got, even if they were a divergent storyline from the main plot, it was still engaging enough because we got those really cool character moments and growth pieces. Again, the set design, or whatever you want to call it, the animation styles where they put into to flesh out this galaxy and create this world on the screen is up to a new level in this one. Like I said, there were times where I forgot I was watching animation, particularly in some of those landscape shots, because they do put so much detail and texture into this environment. So again, I love everything about it, and I'm standing right by Meg there with a 4.5 out of 5 gonkies. Now we'll see how I feel after we get the end of this series, because the way they set up for what's to come, I gotta say I'm really excited, but if they don't follow through, I'll be very disappointed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big
Justin.
expectations.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same sentiments as my other two batches. This is some top tier Star Wars storytelling in animation. This is on par with some of the best live action that we've gotten, told on a visual scale and scope that is cinematic. It's elevated. It is just breathtaking. It's pure spectacle. Okay. I love my spectacle. So it is pure spectacle. And I think that season 2 resolves a lot of the issues that, as you were pointing out, Nate, that we had in season 1. And I think, again, focusing on the other batches, giving us a better balance of adventure with character-driven stories, sprinkling that throughout, not necessarily pulling a thread of, oh, this is a bigger story, and not really following through. I think everything was paced and balanced really, really, really well for the season. Again, you mentioned it, music, top tier. It is its own vibe. The performances and the character design it is a next level of performance. And I love that D. Bradley has been able to really figure out how to identify these characters through their personalities and through their interactions with one another, and how he's able to really just evolve that from the fantastic writing, right? Like the fact that Jennifer Corbett and the entire team have been able to work so diligently to carve out a pocket of time within the Star Wars galaxy to tell this story and to have us just appreciate how meaningful this story is, and to see what the relationship is, and to continue the theme, as you pointed out at the top here, that Star Wars will always be about family. And you really do see that represented here in this series, especially found family, especially how they've come together. They bond over their trauma and their differences, and it's all made them stronger. So yeah, this is great animated television content. Yeah, I'm going to go on the same basis as my other batches, 4.5 gonkies. It is all balancing on how they wrap this thing up. If this does succeed in doing that, it's going to be a 5 out of 5 for the entire series, for sure. For sure.
Well, I agree. This second season...
That's it, period.
This is it. There we go. This second season, you're right. It does exactly what a second season should do. It elevates what came before, learning from past mistakes, and I don't think it does give everyone the same level of character growth. It doesn't give everyone the same level of character growth, and the pacing can still leave a little more to be desired at times. I still found that there are great moments for all of the Bad Batch in this season. There's a great Wrecker moment. There's a great Hunter moment that's like a Hunter-ass Hunter moment, which is fantastic. But I think I'm excited for the future of the Bad Batch, because I feel like we're almost there. I feel like we're almost at a place where I'm going to be coming out of the season just saying every single one of these characters developed so much by the end of like a season 3. Again, there are some moments in this season, animated or not, that will go down as some of the best moments in Star Wars, at least for me. The music, the performances, the darker tones and themes, the way they've added just some incredible, they've added so much to this moment in time. These gaps in modern Star Wars is so well done and so exciting. And the fact that they've sort of got these little hints that feel like they can bridge those gaps, that feel like they can maybe fix some of those things that Star Wars fans aren't, very happy with, I think is really, really fantastic. I think Dave, Brad, Jen, their team just continue to do exactly what I talked about at the top of the show, which is add so much to the existing stories while giving us new adventures and characters to fall in love with. So overall, I am going to give this season of Star Wars The Bad Batch a strong 4.5 out of 5 gonkies. I was sitting at a 4.
Was it lower?
It was at a 4, and then our conversation brought it up by 0.5. We'll see.
Peer pressure.
We'll
Yes!
see where we get
It
to
works.
by the end.
Still has some power.
But that is it. We hope you enjoyed this spoiler-free review for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this series or any of the movies or shows we cover, well, I'm going to have Tech decrypt this chain code for me so we can send a holo message over to Omegan so she can tell you where you can reach us.
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can find us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Oh my gosh. Was that... Wait, Megan, are you still there? Megan?
Whoa. Megan.
Megan came to visit us. Also, I think we mentioned it about a few times on this review, but yes, we are going to be doing a weekly watch club pretty much every single week for these episodes. Our first watch club for episodes 1 and 2 will be up later this evening if you're listening to this like the minute it comes out. But if you're catching us a little bit later, it is out right now. So give it a listen. Let us know what you think. And I think we had a pretty good time with those first 2 episodes. And so definitely check out every single week. We're going to be dropping them the day that the episodes go live, which is every Wednesday. And you can definitely keep up with us. So you can watch the episodes and then be back in less than 12 parsecs. I did it again. And you can join us for some batchy, spoiler-filled thoughts and theories. It's a lot of fun, so definitely check it out. And we also have a ton of interviews, like our most recent interviews with the cast and showrunner of Willow. We interviewed some of the cast from Avatar: The Way of Water. And we had the opportunity to sit down with the Bad Batch themselves, D. Bradley Baker, as if we couldn't just love that guy more. And Justin had the chance to sit down with supervising director Brad Rao and head writer Jennifer Corbett, who I think we've just praised all of those people so much. So make sure to check out us on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric and check out all of our interviews there. Click all the things, click the bell, like all the things, share the videos with your families. Be like, hey, I didn't get you a gift for the holidays. Here's a Geekcentric review or an interview or something. Leave us a beautiful 5-star review if you're enjoying our content. And heck, while you're at it, leave us a written review. We'd love to know just how you're enjoying the stuff that we make here. Our first review for 2023 is in the bag. And I'm so stoked, again, that it was a Star Wars project. I'm excited for what's to come in this new year. New opportunities. Justin, you said it before. What did you say?
Hope.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, Megan, Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this batchy review. And as we say,
Good soldiers follow orders.